the Ravens defeating the Steelers at home by a score of 28-14. Ravens win by 2 touchdowns. This was basically the story of Lamar Jackson playing like regular season Lamar Jackson finally in the playoffs. We saw a little bit of it last year. I believe it was against the Texans where he had that really good game, and then the Chiefs.
Right.
That game was a little rough, but also he led a touchdown drive that if Zay Flowers doesn't fumble in the end zone, that's a tie game going into the fourth quarter. So, or in the fourth quarter, I'm sorry.
Right.
So, thoughts on this one, Casino?
Kind of thought of what it was. I told you the Ravens were going to be. This was going to be the blowout of the week, and I mean, it wasn't the blowout of the week, but This looked like the most dominance, in my opinion. Just watching this game, the Steelers just didn't look like they showed up, and the Ravens just had their way with them. Just had their absolute way with them. Yeah, Russell Wilson, he had an okay game, honestly. 20 for 29. I don't think this really was a lot on him.
No, and then when you watch the game, he was making some good throws too. He was buying time in the pocket. He was rolling out. He actually, again, I think if you were to say before this game, the Steelers or the Ravens blow out the Steelers, you would think that Russell Wilson would have like a Herbert game,
Right.
where it would just be a bunch of interceptions, but he looked good.
But what it came down to is you alluded to it in our TikTok. This was a Lamar Jackson game. Like, he was 16 for 21. He didn't have to throw the ball a whole bunch, but he ran. He had 15 attempts, 81 yards, looked outstanding doing it. But Derrick Henry, King Henry, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the team total 299 yards on rushing. Steelers total 29. That was the game. That was just it. They didn't. What's the time of possession here? 20 minutes and 27 seconds to 39 minutes and 33 seconds. Damn near 2/3 of the entire game was in Baltimore's hands, and they just ran it. They just crushed it.
Yeah, and then you look at the average run per carry. Derrick Henry was averaging over 7 yards. Lamar Jackson was averaging over 5. So there's again, we've said it all regular season. The Ravens are maybe the most exciting offense in the league because they feel like they're unstoppable. And it's like, if you hold Lamar Jackson to under 200 yards passing, they're going to run almost for 300 yards on you. If you hold him to less than 100, he's going to pass for 300 on you.
I don't think the Steelers played bad when they had the ball. It's just they couldn't get anything going on that running game, that no matter what Russell Wilson did in the air, you're not going to move the ball. That time of possession, you couldn't keep it. So
well, also watching this game, it really felt like Baltimore played a perfect first half of football. Like, they go into halftime up 21-0, and it felt like it could have been 35-0, just with how efficiently they were moving the ball, how easily they were moving the ball. And like you said, nothing the Steelers did on offense or defense looked bad. It was just the Ravens were so much better than them that they were just basically talented them.
Yeah, they just couldn't stop them running. That's it.
Yeah, it was, but again, go ahead.
Go for it. No, I was just going to start talking about now, what do you do if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? Do you move off of Mike Tomlin? I mean, his previous playoffs, so wild card round out from 24, 23, 21. They didn't make it in 22 and 20 and 17. All their last playoff, 5 last wild card rounds, they got knocked out, which is just insanity. So I don't know, man. Their last 6 games in the playoff, they have lost. So what do you do here? Because yes, you can have that whole argument, and I'm always on the side of keep him because you don't have a losing season. You always can. You're most likely going to make the playoffs. You have a good team, you have a shot, but you don't really have a shot like when you're playing Kansas City, Buffalo, the Ravens. So this is kind of in a weird spot for you. You know what I mean?
Well, also this team, we forget about them, but the Steelers, again, they were what 10-3 before they lost four in a row at the end of the season.
Yeah.
When they were 10-3, I mean, we were doing power rankings all this season, and in that 10 game stretch where they were looking really good, we were repeatedly being like, man, are the Steelers the fourth team in the best team in the league? Or are they the third best team in the league? I think there was even one week where I was like, the Steelers are the best team in the league. So I think coming into this season where there were so many question marks about like, what are the Steelers going to do with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? Or, they don't really have anybody outside of Pickens. What about their defense? Is it going to be as good? Blah, blah, blah. And if we remember correctly, their defense started off the season rough and then kind of figured it out as the season went on. So I think both the blessing and the curse for Mike Tomlin is he basically carries these teams that shouldn't be into the playoffs, but then when they get into the playoffs, they lose because they shouldn't be there in the first place, and then everybody kind of blames him for not winning in the playoffs, where it's like, yeah, but he's taking teams that in other coaches' hands, this isn't 7-8 win Steelers team that
Right.
shouldn't even be in the playoffs. So for them to consistently be fighting for a playoff spot or in the playoffs every season he's coaching is, again, a testament to how great of a head coach he is. But also, if you're the owners, if you're the fans, yeah, that shit's probably going to wear thin when you're 20 years into a Mike Tomlin coaching, tenure, and he's gotten you to the playoffs every year, but never into the AFC Championship or never to another Super
Yeah, the
Bowl.
last time it looked like they were in the AFC Championship was in 2017, where they lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, that's 3 seasons away from being a decade. So it really depends on if you're the fans, if you're ownership, how
I mean,
risky
I'm
do you
sure
want to
there's a
be?
lot of other teams that would take Mike Tomlin as their head coach.
I honestly think if he got fired tomorrow, there would be 27 teams like interviewing him for their head coaching
Yeah, we'll
position.